Drew Macintyre posted a picture with him and Jack Perry? Is he trying to get more heat with CM Punk? And Ronda Rousey talks about whether or not she wants to return to the WWE.
And speaking of CM Punk, we have some potential contract news about his future in the WWE and a brand new title all revealed on Dynamite. All that more this week's episode of Grapple-Sauce. Hit it, Dave.
Hey, Daver here. Welcome to the show.
And Chandler's back as well. How we doing, Dave?
We're doing pretty good. We're coming off a Blood and Guts episode of Dynamite from Nashville, Tennessee. I highly enjoyed it. We got a big debut. We got a new belt. We got I'm going to call it a surprising win for the team who won Blood and Guts. Didn't think they were going to go that direction.
I would agree. I honestly didn't think that team, that one, would win. I would have thought some other people that may or may not have been taken out of the match would have played a bigger role in the finale of the match. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty good show. I had a couple low spots. But for me, that's every Dynamite. Rarely is there a perfect Dynamite. But all in all, I did really enjoy this episode. But to get it out of the way, unfortunately, Chad is still competing in the G1 Climax. I mean, if you missed it, he wrestled a 60-minute draw with Takeshita. So obviously he's got to move on to the next round. So better check that out. He should be back soon, though, hopefully. Hopefully for the retro review on Monday, because it's his choice.
Yeah, we're doing NXT 2016?
19. It's the TakeOver Portland. Dominic Dijakovic versus Keith Lee.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Chad's been talking about that for a long time. Speaking of Takeshita, the San Diego Comic-Con is going on, and they revealed a fresh Takeshita action figure.
Ooh.
It looks good.
I have never owned a wrestling action figure in my life. Should I own the first one?
Yeah, I thought about getting it for you.
I won't complain. I love the man. Well,
it looks good.
I'm sure it does. It's Takeshita. How could it not?
Right?
You want to get into our Rip Roaring news?
Yeah, in the news. Drew McIntyre, that son of a gun, posted and then deleted a picture of him with Jack Perry. Perfect for his current feud, wouldn't you say?
Well, did you see what he captioned it?
I did, yeah. It's a real photo. Cry us a river.
So here's the thing, right? I'm torn because it's really good heat. It's really funny, but the problem is most of what Drew McIntyre's done on Twitter isn't mentioned on WWE TV. So especially him taking a picture with the guy who's like, well, Jack Perry isn't responsible, but just for right now, we'll say he's responsible for the firing of CM Punk, right? That's pretty good bait, but they wouldn't mention that on WWE TV because then you'd have to mention, oh, CM Punk was fired from another company, which I don't think they've ever said AEW on air yet. Maybe like one person did in 2019 when it was like a lot smaller. But now that AEW's been around for 5 years and is a bit bigger than it used to be, because whenever they mention it, like I know Roman Reigns mentioned it. Anytime they talk about Cody, they mention it because they mentioned it with the Roman Reigns feud to WrestleMania last year because he went, oh, you started your own company, ooh, and then ran away. And then AJ Styles did the same thing in his feud with him leading up to Scotland, where I think he was like, you went to Ring of Honor and you ran away because you couldn't get over, and you went to New Japan and you ran away because you couldn't get over. So like he mentioned them, but then he went, and you started your own company, son, and everyone went, ooh, and you ran away. And they're like, ah. So it's kind of the same thing where I'm sure they're like, you can say New Japan, you can say Ring of Honor, even though we don't really work with them. You can't say AEW, which I think that's fair because that's obviously their most direct competition.
Yeah, true. I did find it interesting. WRKD Wrestling reports while Drew McIntyre deleted his photo with Jack Perry, there is zero concern of any backstage heat. McIntyre and CM Punk are working closely to craft their feud, and all references to past AEW or backstage issues have been given the green light by Punk ahead of time. So
Yeah,
nothing's happening without CM Punk knowing about it. We don't want to have another Hangman situation, right?
I'm sure if Drew was actually going into business for himself, he would go on Raw and say, "Hey, CM Punk, remember when you got fired from AEW, loser? Like you didn't go fight me in the locker room." So I think if he was going into business for himself, he'd do something like that. But the fact that as far as most, and it's kind of hard to say, but let's just say you're a big casual. You don't know why CM Punk left AEW. You're just gonna go on Twitter and be like, "Oh, Drew McIntyre took a picture with a guy from AEW. That's cool." And maybe he said "Cry us a river" because it's like, "Ooh, WWE and AEW wrestlers spotted together. That's bad." Ooh, like you could write it off as that, but all us wrestling fans are gonna go, "Ooh, we know what that means."
Yeah. Also, I find it interesting. McIntyre also mentioned Colt Cabana in a tweet a few days ago, although that one wasn't deleted. So, yeah, nothing's
Hold up,
going
hold
on.
up, hold up, hold up. I didn't know that. All right, while I check, that's pretty cool. Big
Yeah.
fan of Drew McIntyre's Twitter antics. I always find it
Drew?
hilarious. I know he sent one where it was "Punk is dead." That's pretty fun. Um, Aging as well as "Hey Colt Cabana, how you doing?" Uh.
Oh, yep. Yeah. Nothing's happening without Punk knowing about it.
Oh yeah. Well, again, at the worst, these are just tweets, right? You know, Drew McIntyre, he's followed by 1.3 million people, which sounds like a lot, but only around 500. So this most recent tweet, well, let's just go to the Colt Cabana one, right? It was seen by 1.4 million people. 32,000 liked it, so that's enough to look at it and go, "Oh, okay, cool." 3.7 thousand retweeted it, and 1,000 people commented. So, like, are we getting those numbers? No, but by celebrity standards, those aren't crazy. They're good, they're great, but I think it's because this is a blurring the line storyline that WWE doesn't really tell. I think that's greatly boosting those numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Um, but yeah, I found all that kind of interesting, but there's really no there there.
Yeah, it's fun to talk about, fun to see the picture because it like and in it itself, it is pretty cool to see Drew McIntyre standing next to Jack Perry. Like that's pretty neat. Makes you
Uh,
wonder, like, ooh, are they gonna do anything else? Because a lot of people, I saw an outcry when John Cena announced his retirement tour next year, where he's basically saying the whole year I'm going to be working and it's going to be my last year as an active wrestler. A lot of people are like, John Cena needs to wrestle at least one or two matches in another company. I think TNA is kind of a lock. I would be
yeah.
honest because of how great their relationship is, and John Cena couldn't refuse an option to work in TNA. But like, come on, you want to see John Cena versus Kenny Omega just once, and
I mean,
like that's
they are advertising John Cena for multiple different reasons for like his Wipeout show, Shark Week on TBS during,
so like,
you know what I
please,
mean?
please let him do one AEW match, please. What about MJF? That'd be a fun mic promo, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? It'd be like one of the few people. It'd be like when CM Punk was doing promos with MJF, where you're like, oh, you can at least trash talk as much as he can, and John Cena can trash talk as much as the best of them. So
Yeah, for sure. Um, but yeah, kind of fun to think about. Also, Ronda Rousey talks about her feelings about the WWE and whether or not she wants to return there someday. Uh, yeah, we got a quote here from her. She says, I mean, yeah, I feel like that's a good thing. I guess it means that I missed it if people are still asking if I'm going to be fighting or wrestling. My last run with Vince, Bruce Pritchard, and John Laurinaitis was such a negative experience. Most of them are gone now, but Bruce is still around. I'm not overly excited to come back like I was last time, even though I had many matches that I enjoyed and had a great time. When I look back, I don't really think of the joy I had in those matches. I mostly remember the anxiety of never knowing what was going on until the very last minute, not being allowed to prepare, and having our time cut repeatedly. The experience was so needlessly stressful, which is why I focus so much on screenwriting and drafting novels as a refuge. I know things are a lot different now. I've heard from the girls that it's much better, but it's hard to shake the past experience and be excited to come back like I was before. So yeah, doesn't sound like she's very interested. I know
Well,
you're not looking forward to her coming back at all, right?
no, I don't think it's worth the money or the screen time or any of that. Like, there were times when Ronda Rousey was good, like her first year maybe, but that was 2018. So like 2019, she worked up until Mania and then was gone. But to be fair, she had a kid, so she can take off plenty of time for that. And then she came back 2022 Royal Rumble, and you could tell from then on she was phoning it in. Like she just kept phoning it in, phoning it in. She had a WrestleMania match with Charlotte Flair, and it stunk to high heaven. How do you have a WrestleMania match with Charlotte Flair and it sucks? That takes talent. Um, I just have no interest in seeing her return to WWE. I know you want to see her in Ring of Honor and AEW, and that, I mean, on the one hand, it would be cool to have some bigger names in AEW, I guess, but I don't think it's worth it. Like, I didn't think Monet was worth it until about now, maybe, that she has an actual feud that's being built on weekly television. And unlike the Vakur match, which was like, oh, we're going to have one promo of one and one promo of the other, like 2 weeks apart. Like, at least we're seeing Monet and Britt Baker on TV each week, and they're in interesting and engaging segments. So, I don't know how many months in, but we'll say 4 or 5 months in, Monet starts feeling worth it to me. But Ronda, I doubt you could ever see that return on investment.
Yeah, I popped pretty hard when she showed up to be Marina Shafir's partner in Ring of Honor.
I mean,
I don't
that's
know,
cool.
6 months ago. But yeah, I think you're pretty much right. Um, what was she saying about the fans? Do you remember exactly? Like that it
Oh,
was
it
just
was
kind
the
of
most
cringy.
like where. She's like, the fans didn't like me. It's like, yeah, they could tell you were phoning it in. Maybe don't phone it in and they'll like you more. Like you could
Yeah,
go, oh, it's the chicken or the egg, right? What happened first? Did the fans turn on Ronda or did Ronda phone it in? And I think most people would say it's a combination of both. Because look at the 2022 Royal Rumble. No one was really thinking for Ronda Rousey to win it because no one really wanted Ronda Rousey to win it. And then she came in at like 28 and won. And people are like, like, we don't really care. We would have wanted another star being built up. I can't remember exactly who would have been good at the time. I wasn't really watching. At least I skipped that Rumble. But you could have said Bailey. You could have said Oscar. You could have said like any woman's name, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley. You could have said any woman's name on that roster, and I'm sure people would have preferred that to Ronda Rousey. And so it's like, well, did it start then because no one was really excited about Ronda Rousey, or did she like I don't know. So maybe if she went to AEW, the crowd would hopefully be really into her because they're like, wow, look at this. Like Monet, they were pretty into her for at least a bit. And I would argue it was kind of bad booking. Not even Monet's part. Like, yeah, she can't cut a promo, but I wouldn't have had her cutting promos every week while not wrestling.
Yeah, her being a
So
heel now is so much better.
it's better. I'm still not like in love with her. I think it's better. I think her getting Camille is spoilers. I think that's pretty interesting. But yeah, so I don't know. I think it'd be better if she went to AEW. I'll say that. Because I think a new fan base might be more receptive to her. Like, I mean, with CM Punk in the beginning, Adam Copeland, they're like, wow, this big star is coming to AEW. Let's, shower them with praise. Kind of like with Will Ospreay and Okada too. Like those are big stars that aren't WWE names, and the crowd still love them. Like, did you see Okada's pop at Blood and Guts? He's still over, and he's a heel. He flips people off, he low blows them, and they still like, oh, it's Okada. So as long as you're a big name in AEW, they'll cheer for you and they'll appreciate you no matter what.
I love Okada. He is
Oh,
something special. The comedy, the embracing of comedy, I think has done him wonders.
I loved him flipping Swerve off and then Swerve stapling his middle finger. I thought that was so funny. We'll get to that all sequence later, but oh my gosh, it was a pretty good blood and guts match.
Yeah. You got something about a new title, right?
Yeah, MGF unveiled a new title, and apparently it's to get back at Will Ospreay. I kind of thought it was a jab at Cody because it's like, we're doing the crappy USA versus UK, gimmick. But I think they're telling it a little bit more entertainingly at the very least. Like when MJF revealed the title, essentially, it's like the first thing that happens on Dynamite. MJF has retired the international title. For sure, okay. And it's now the American title, right? So I was like, whatever, that's an ugly belt. It's funny. And then he pulled up the flag, and all the stars were his face, and he played like not like it's like an American song. It's not "Oh Say Can You See" or anything like that, but it's an American fighting song. I thought it was really funny, so I was like, all right, you kind of got me invested so far, and when Osprey beats him at Wembley and brings back the international title, it'll be a big pop. So not like that's a bad thing.
Yeah. I liked how gaudy the belt was, over the top,
Oh,
American flag strap.
it's
I
giga cringe, but it's funny giga cringe. So it's okay. It works. If Cody Rhodes redesigned the WWE championship and it looked
would
like
look like
that,
that.
I'd be like, Cody, that's like the worst thing you could do. Why would you do that? But that's like the WWE title. That's a title that matters. This is the international title. And we all know it's gonna go back, right? Like we all know this is a joke. So for the time being, it's a funny one. And I like it. Now if Osprey carries around the AEW American title, ooh, we're gonna have to talk Tony Khan. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Um, but yeah, like the thing I like is if you recall, when Osprey won the IWGP US title, he changed that thing to the UK title. So this is kind of a full, symmetry,
Mhm.
mirror, universe of that. I think they're kind of playing on, which I really appreciate them having the thought for that. Um, but yeah, I dig the whole thing. I think the belt is ugly, but I wouldn't mind owning a replica of it.
Oh, I'd agree with that because it's so ugly and it's so funny. Like, yeah, I wouldn't mind owning that. That's cute in a way.
Yeah. But yeah, man, let's get into Blood and Guts. July 24th from Nashville, Tennessee.
Before we do that, I think you and I know what we need to do. We need to climb on
Oh,
that blood and guts cage, wait for our friend to set up the 4 tables, and elbow drop that like button.
yeah, maybe a froggy bow?
Ooh, Froggy Bow. And then you need to give that old subscribe button an unprotected chair shot right to the dome.
And Leave a comment on that little keyboard, on that little
Mhm.
computer.
Let us know what you think about this heat, brother, between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. Is it real? Is it a shoot? Are we working ourselves into a shoot, brother?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. Let us know what you think. We appreciate your support. I believe we've officially hit 300 subscribers. A modest number, but hey, we haven't even been doing this for a year, so uh thank you
Yeah,
everyone
thank you
who's
guys.
subscribed. Thank you so much. We try to be entertaining enough and not sound like morons about what we're talking about. Um, but yeah, thank you very much for your support. But yeah, you want to get into this episode here?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I quite liked the cold open. I thought it was like chilly or cheesy and silly, but it was like the most I liked Osprey in a while. I just thought it was silly.
It was good.
His
It was
promo that
good.
he cut was like okay, but the first part was like, ah, you know what? I do kind of, I'm kind of rude for Osprey now. It's not just like, ah, MJF, go you.
Yeah. We got Alex Marvez just so happened to be ready to do an interview outside the hotel.
It was like in the parking lot, and then later on, did you see where his car was? Like, oh yeah, I just park it on the way to leave the parking garage. Isn't that where you park in a hotel, Dave?
Absolutely. Just ready to Batmobile out of there. But yeah, we got Marvez trying to get comments from Will Osprey, but Will Osprey's in a hurry. He finds out his car tire is popped and it's got a knife in it. I wonder who could have done that. It
Kenny
would have been
Omega.
better. It would have been better if the knife handle was an American flag.
Oh, something like Uber crit. Yeah, that would have been funny. And then I like how Osprey's like, "You go, call, bro," and he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Give me your keys," and he gets in. And Marvez is like, "Do you know how to drive in America?" And he just takes off. I thought it was cute. It was funny.
It was so good. Comedy gold. Yeah, really enjoyed that cold open. I'm glad they don't have a theme. I keep saying that. No more song. Get that
What are you
crap
talking
out of
about?
here.
Collision has a theme, and it's so good.
Oh, no, no, no. What do you mean collision? I don't watch that show anymore.
Yeah, you mean Rampage 2? 2 hour
Rampage
Rampage?
2? Yeah, pretty much. And we get a MJF segment. He's got some cheerleaders on the ramp to usher him in. He calls Osprey a gutless coward for not being able to hit the Tiger Driver 91, and he's waiting for the right moment to pounce on Swerve, which I can't wait for that feud. That'll probably be post All Out, more or less.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, can't wait for that. He brings up Osprey's dead grandma, calls her a fat skank. What? He calls the fans unpatriotic and treasonous for cheering the international talent who held the international title.
That
He,
classic international guy, Orange Cassidy.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Did
yeah.
you know? Okay, you know what I found out today, which explains a lot? Do you know Orange Cassidy is Tony Khan's favorite wrestler? I
Dude,
didn't know that.
He dressed up like Orange Cassidy for Halloween in like 2020.
Because I was always like, man, why is Orange Cassidy booked so strong? Like I like him, but he like almost always wins. And then I found that out, and I was like, oh, I get it, I get it. Look, okay, if I was booking AEW, Takeshita would win every single match he's in. So I can't say I'd be biased, but I see you, Tony Khan, calling
Yeah,
you out.
Orange is definitely a sicko uh magnet.
Yeah,
Uh, so yeah, then MJF throws the international title in a trash can and he unveils the AEW American Championship. We talked about it already a little bit. American flag strap on it. It's got the side plates on it. One of them says something about America's better than you and you know it.
I think it was I'm better than UK and you know it, or something like it. It might be, maybe it was like I saw one title plate it was that, and you saw the other title plate it was that. But I remember him explicitly saying like at least USA is better than UK, or I'm better than UK and you know it. So that's where I was kind of like, are we doing that classic Cody Rhodes Anthony Ogogo feud again? Hell yeah.
ooh, no, please no. Uh, the the America cutout of America did kind of look like the Puerto Rican flag a little bit. But yeah, overall I thought it was pretty funny. Um, we get a red, white, and blue streamers shooting out, then that giant American flag we were talking about with all the stars being MJF's face.
That's
Uh,
funny. Like that's
it
just
was funny.
funny.
It was good. It was good. Will Ospreay runs out and chases MJF off. He talks about how MJF cheated in their match, and he's getting a rematch at All In.
Well, you
He,
forgot MJF was so good at this part. Like I think he just outshone Osprey a little bit because Osprey was just kind of yelling. But anytime Osprey would be like, "You cheated, bro," MJF would be like, "I didn't cheat. I didn't cheat."
yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah,
I think there's a bit where he's like, "I beat you in 30 seconds. It was so easy, easiest win of my life."
yeah, 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 yeah. The analysts have said it was the most efficient match in history.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
He didn't even break a sweat.
oh
So
yeah.
yeah, MJF super mad about this. Um, yeah, then that segment ended. Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny overall. I like the belt, and I like how the crowd started chanting USA, USA, and he had to be like, no, 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 it's not for you. It's for Long Island, USA.
Yeah. That it was just funny. It was just a nice, funny little bit. I'm enjoying this MJF heel run. I mean, he's always supposed to be a heel, but I'm enjoying it right now because he's taking away things we love. He killed Daniel Garcia. He humiliated Will Ospreay. And then he took away the international title, which we all know and love. That's like the only thing in this feud that I'm kind of like, like I like that he changed it. It's funny, but I don't care enough about the international title really to be like, oh no, how dare you? Like if he changed the TNT title or like the main world title, it would be like, oh, that's a bad idea. But right now, I think the international title's in that perfect level where you're like, ah, it's silly. Like, yeah, I'm fine with it. They shouldn't do it for long, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah, the only title more meaningless is the Continental title that
Yeah.
Okada has. That's just a prop at this point.
I was really hoping when Okada beat Eddie Kingston, I was like, oh, he's gonna bring a lot of meaning to the belt, and I was like, oh no, it's just so the elite can have all the gold and you can have that visual, which I'm fine with, but it doesn't make the Continental Championship look that good in comparison. And the only reason I think they're having Okada keep it, because I think they're gonna have Okada in the seat too, and I think they're gonna say if you have the Continental Championship, you're automatically in and you defend it. So
My theory is, uh, we'll get to it a little later, what alluded to it, but we're gonna have Hangman versus Okada at probably All In. I
I
think
don't
Hangman is gonna take that belt.
excuse me, I don't think he won't because I think they're selling a long term story of a Hangman Swerve at Wrestle Dream to be like, oh, this started a year ago, this whole feud. We're gonna finish it a year later at the same, pay per view venue. And I think you need a hungry Hangman. You need a hungry Hangman for that because if he's got the Continental title, you know, I know you can make up a story, but like I don't like wrestlers having two main single titles unless it's for a good reason. So I think Hangman should be not having that, so he can like, oh, I'm just gonna challenge. I think it'd make the Swerve and Hangman match at Wrestle Dream mean a bit more.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Hangman would make that belt mean more if he had it,
That's
which is
true.
kind of
I'll
what I
give you
want.
that.
It's kind of what I want more than anything, for that belt to have meaning.
Well, Eddie Kingston won it and it didn't mean anything, and then Okada won it and it doesn't mean anything. And I think even back then, I still stand by, that shouldn't have been for a belt. It should have just been for a title shot. Like, who
And
cares?
a
Copy the
trophy.
G1. Yeah, trophy and a title shot. Who cares? That's a cool gimmick. That's what
Yep.
they did with King of
Yep.
the Ring. It's why Owen Hart mattered this year. Because it's like,
Hmm.
ooh, Danielson or Hangman or Willow or Mariah. Ooh, that's interesting. So
Speaking of the Owen, I do appreciate that Mariah May is carrying that belt around.
I like how she had the shoe too. I really liked the Mariah May segment this week. There's one thing I would switch, but I really liked it all in all. If there's one Owen Hart winner that I don't really care for still, it's the men's bracket. And it's because it's been 2 weeks. I mean, I know we saw a video package of him, but it's been 2 weeks since we've seen Bryan Danielson on TV. And he's main eventing All In. And I get, they probably want to preserve him as best they can for All In, but I think there's a bit later on in the show where it should have been Bryan Danielson instead of who was in that spot. You know what you think you know what I'm saying?
Um,
I think he should have been Camille
Mark
instead
Briscoe.
of.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
oh,
I'm kidding.
should have been Mark Briscoe. Was that
No,
the
should have
swap?
been Billy Gunn or Jeff Jarrett. It should have been Bryan Danielson. Because then
Ah,
it would
ho,
have been
ho,
like,
ho.
oh, Bryan Danielson, A, cares about AEW, B, is willing to stick his neck in for them, and C, even though he's gonna fight with Osprey, he's still like, you're doing something important. You need to go in there. So I'll help you with this. Like
Yeah.
Chad texted us and was like, man, why is Jeff Jarrett becoming such a badass part of Dynamite? And I agree with him. But it's also like, why is Jeff Jarrett more prominent than the guy challenging for the world title? Like, I like Jeff Jarrett, but Jeff Jarrett's not going for that title. Like, he gave the pep talk to Bryan Danielson and he saved Swerve.
I love Jeff Jarrett. Good
No,
Lord.
I'm
Love
fine
Jeff
with
Jarrett.
that. I loved how all of his like group were like, no, don't go, Jeff. Like, that's crazy. And he's like, I'm gonna do it. Like, that was badass, but still, it's like, man, why isn't it like Bryan Danielson, the guy going for the title? I hope when he is on TV, they'll tell a really good story.
Yeah. I mean, I don't doubt they will. I did go in depth earlier today about the whole Jeff Jarrett uh demanding $300,000 from Vince McMahon. Uh, Basically, his contract ended, and they didn't pay attention. Jim Ross was supposed to try to re-sign him. He didn't want to do it. The contract ended a day before the pay-per-view, and they built up a big feud with China. And him and Vince McMahon and Shane McMahon were in the office. They could hear people arguing, and they ended up he wasn't going to perform until his wife let him know that they wired the money in his bank account. He did the job though. He put over China. She won the belt, and yeah, man. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. I don't fault him at all for that. He's not the bad guy.
Yeah. Well, that's why when Vince McMahon bought WCW and it was that live show of Monday Night Raw and Nitro, one of the first things he did was, Jeff Jarrett, you're fired. Like, that was legit. Like, he
Yeah.
did, because he didn't want Jeff Jarrett working for him. That's why it was a big deal, like 2018 or so. He was in the Rumble. He went in the Hall of Fame. Like, he did have a nice little farewell tour to WWE. And that's why it's kind of crazy that he's still so active in AEW. Not only that, but he's having a resurgence, like a big babyface resurgence. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Anytime I can see Jeff Jarrett on TV, I'm gonna be happy.
Hmm.
So yeah, what do we got here? What do we got? We got the coin toss for who gets the advantage in Blood and Guts. Bryce Remsburg, the referee, lets Matthew use their own coin. I can't imagine there could be anything corrupt about that coin.
Come on,
Uh,
The Bucks wouldn't cheat like that. Come on, they're nice stand up guys.
yeah, they're EVPs. How are they gonna do wrong?
I did love
Uh,
how Christopher Daniels was like dead on the floor, and Bryce Remsburg just walked in. And was like, "All right, let's get this over with." Like he didn't even acknowledge it, didn't even like call for help. He was like, "All right, let's do this coin flip," and the Young Bucks were like, "Oh, but we have our own coin." And then they did it, and they're like, "Oh, the elite have the advantage." And then they went, and they were like, "Elite, elite," and we were like, "No shit, Sherlock."
uh, I would really like to maybe purchase one of those if they were. I think that'd be smart if they
It'd be
put that up
funny.
on Shop AEW.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, a lead on both sides, so they get the advantage. Um,
The heel should always have the advantage in these matches. Like always, always, always. So it's
yeah,
why it's like not only for this match, it's why what happened with Swerve and Hangman was so effective. But take a look at the Survivor or the War Games they had at WWE last year. The last entrant was supposed to be Randy Orton. And then, oh no, he's not there. So it's a 5-on-4. They're at a disadvantage. And then, right about as the heels are about to win, that's when Randy Orton came back. So it's this big babyface return. He kills the Judgment Day by himself. You have no idea what I'm talking about. You know Randy Orton, right?
yeah, oh yeah,
So basically, I'm just saying, like, you always got to have the heels and the advantage for these types of matches. Otherwise, they don't work because then it's baby faces ganging up on heels. And it's like, who
yeah,
do I boo? Who do I cheer? This is odd.
yeah, absolutely. And that kind of alludes to the ending of Blood and Guts. We'll get into that. Have a thought about that, but yeah. Anyway, after that, we have an FTW title match: Chris Jericho versus Minoru Suzuki. You and Chad did not like it, but I thoroughly loved this match. I love a good chop off, man, especially one
Yeah.
that goes for like 6 minutes long with a bloody chest.
I mean, it's
But
perfectly okay to like this match. You know, it's everyone's opinions, right? They got their own. It's just I'll get into my feelings about it, but I don't like. I'm so numb to AEW chop battles. I think Collision, the first three matches were just breaking down into chops for the first 5 minutes, and I was like, I get it. You chop. Wow. Like the only person I really want to see chop these days is Gunther. That's it. That's because a chopping match in WWE is kind of rare rather than 3 times a show in AEW.
true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll give you that. Uh, yeah, let's see. They have their chop off for like 5, 6 minutes. Jericho's chest is bloody. We get chop forever chants. The crowd was into it. They were white hot for this match. Uh,
Surprisingly, typically Jericho never gets a good reaction, so
yep.
maybe something's working.
Yeah, could have been the murder grandpa factor.
Might have been.
The chops go on until Jericho boots Minoru Suzuki. Suzuki gets Jericho in an arm submission, all wrapped up in the ropes, and hits Jericho with uh, a pile of or multiple chairs. Uh, Suzuki smashes Jericho's hand with a chair while wedged between another chair. Minoru Suzuki gets Jericho in a Fujinara armbar and tries to break Jericho's fingers. Suzuki kicks out of a pin after a code breaker. Jericho counters a sleeper from Suzuki into the walls of Jericho. He gets out of that. Jericho escapes a gotch style pile driver into a low blow, then hits the Judas effect for the win. Suzuki uh, ends up getting his gotch style pile driver anyway, but Brian Keith and Big Bill attack him. Then we get the big save from Katsuyori Shibata. He's all better and ready to come back. He runs out to help Suzuki and takes out Brian Keith and Big Bill. Good to see Shibata. Love that guy.
Oh yeah. Shibata looks great. It's like he got even more toned while he was gone, which is crazy. And I'm glad to see him back. But I felt like this was your average Jericho FTW title match where I'm already not interested in it. And then it was added with 5-6 minutes chopping at the beginning, which I'm already not interested in. So if you liked this match, good for you. You know, that's great. It just personally didn't work for me, brother.
I was honestly expecting Hook instead of Shibata.
I think Hook's going to be a little bit closer to All In because that's probably going to be the matches Hook and Jericho, and then Hook will get a win, which is the right thing to do. So,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then what do you do with the learning tree? I'm sure
Uh,
I'm sure Jericho's asking that question.
yeah, maybe they could factor in Scorpio Sky. Uh, kind of what I was hoping for a while. Where the hell is that guy?
He's
Um,
sleepy.
he's sleepy.
I don't
He
know.
did
That's
he
just
did
a
do
dumb.
I read he did do an interview. He's all healed. They just the way he put it is they're so rich with talent that it's hard. It's like a Ferris wheel, is how he put it. Once you're at the top, it's hard to get back into rotation because they have so many storylines and people top names. So he's waiting for them to have creative for him, basically. Kind of a bummer. He says he's in really great shape, ready to go. So I hope he doesn't get frustrated and dip out to TNA or WWE, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. I've never seen a match of his, but I'm sure he's really good. So I'd like to see him at some point. It's always fun. Like it genuinely does feel special when these AEW talent that are for injuries or for whatever you want to call it have been gone for a while, and then I finally get to see him like Britt Baker. I'm like, oh wow, this is cool. And then Private Party when they first turned up, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I get to see these original AEW talent that I haven't gotten to sing before. And maybe Scorpio Sky wasn't he one of the first AEW Tag Champions?
Yeah, him and Frankie Kazarian were the first.
So he is original AEW talent. So I would like to see him.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it when you do. But yeah, after that we get a Willow Nightingale promo, or so we think. Uh, Statlander attacks Willow before she can say anything. Stokely and Statlander uh, or Stokely says Statlander has an eliminator match against Willow next week for the CMLL Women's World Championship. I think she's going to win that, and then they're going to run that back at All In.
Tony Khan is crazy doing all these eliminator matches where the non champion wins. What is he thinking? Is he all right?
Is he okay? Um, but yeah, Statlander slams Willow down on whatever the thing was right there, some barrels or whatever it was.
It looked like
Uh,
it hurt. Just some nice metal. Looked like it hurt.
yeah, it looked like it hurt. I love Willow. I love this storyline. I'm glad they haven't forgotten it. Uh, man, I think they should, for the first time ever, do a three women's matches on the main card.
I think now that Willow actually has a title and she can defend it at All In, I think that's more likely. I hope it's more likely.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I love it. I'm glad they're keeping it alive. After that, we get a little backstage segment with Brian Danielson and Renee Paquette. Danielson talks about his neck is fixable. Uh, Jeff Jarrett walks up and tells Danielson he was crushed not to win the Owen, and tells Danielson he's the perfect guy to do it, and he couldn't be more proud of Danielson. He tells Danielson to go all in, and he believes in him. Uh, Kind of like that, mentor type father figure uh coaching there. Maybe that could like be a thing. Maybe Jeff Jarrett can kind of be a temporary manager coach figure for Danielson.
Yeah. Uh, Again, I'm like, I like what they're doing with Jeff Jarrett. It's just still weird to me that he's more important to the AEW world than the man challenging for the belt at All In. Like, I like Jeff Jarrett in the spot he's in. I just don't know why Bryan Danielson's not around right now. And maybe they just want him completely separated from Blood and Guts, and next week we'll see him. They didn't announce anything for next week, did the Willow Chris Statlander match, but other than that, I don't think they announced anything, right?
Not that I can recall.
I
Well,
checked Collision, right? You want to know
yeah,
what's announced for Collision?
not really, but yeah,
Nothing. The only thing announced is a Battle of the Belts match, Tony Storm versus Taya Valkyrie. So that's
and
it.
there's oh my gosh, and that's not even a title shot.
No, I think it is. I think it's Battle for the Belts, so it's for the belt, right? Oh no, it's an
Nope.
eliminator match. Come on, just make it
I
for the
I did read
Tony.
an article about that. People making fun of it being Battle of the Belts, not even being.
What's the point of Battle of the Belts, huh? What's the point?
Yep,
It's
yep.
going to be the Ring of Honor tag titles, and it's going to be the FTW title. Those are going to be the other two matches.
There's only been like 2 title changes in like 9 Battle of the Belts. Uh, but yeah, um, it just occurred to me there were 2 women's matches on Dynamite.
There was. One of them was a squash, but yeah, there was.
Yeah, yeah, I'm okay with that. Damn. Um, yeah, the women's division's been cooking, man. Like people can't really be dogging them like they did a year ago. Like it's not justified to give them shit like they did. Like they've got definitive like storylines going on, and yeah, I'm thoroughly entertained.
It's not perfect, but I can't remember the last time I was interested in both the women's title and the TBS title. And I think it's
Mhm.
for kind of separate reasons because, like, I'll always be interested in Tony Storm, and then I'm interested in Britt Baker a whole lot. But hey, I'm enjoying both of their stories right now. When's the last time that happened?
Right? Willow Statlander's pretty cool, and I am not as invested as I was, but I'm still kind of intrigued by the Thunder Rosa Deanna Purrazzo. So there's like definitely not where I was, but it's still
Oh,
like uh intriguing enough for me. So there's like 4 things going on in the women's division that are happening.
yeah,
So
that's fair.
um yeah, we got Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida. Uh love
Hikaru.
I love Shida's look, her ring gear. Like it's such a cool look. Um I wasn't a fan of Britt Baker's genie pants.
It's an interesting choice.
Uh but yeah, they show a pretty cool informative video package of their history and their title wins. I thought that was pretty helpful. Britt goes for a lockjaw early, but Sheeta flattens out, won't let her do it. Sheeta beats up Britt Baker on the floor, then drapes her off the apron and gives her a running knee. I love that move from Sheeta. She does that in most of her bigger matches. Britt Baker gives Sheeta a couple sling blades and puts her lockjaw glove on. Sheeta gets Baker in a guillotine, then gives her a knee to her face. Sheeta wants to grab her kendo stick, but she doesn't end up doing it. She looks conflicted. Sheeta gives Britt Baker a Falcon Arrow, but Britt Baker gets Sheeta in the lockjaw for the win. For the match itself, uh, I did notice a little bit of ring rust from Britt Baker, um, paired with I don't really think Sheeta is the most technical or smooth choreographed women's wrestler out there. So I saw a little clunkiness, but nothing to really take me out of it. Um, yeah, it'll be good to get Britt Baker a few more matches before All In, get her a little more acclimated. But Mercedes Monet interrupts and says she won't give Britt Baker a match at All In. Then we get the debut of Camille. She appears behind Britt Baker. Uh, this I loved, man. She put her in the torture rack, and dude, she just like jumped up and like, dude, that was incredible. Jumped up and down, looked freaking brutal. Then did a sit down power bomb, and then Mercedes gets in the ring, and Camille holds up Mercedes' hand. I wrote down here, looking forward to Camille turning on Mercedes like Mariah May down the line, and definitely getting China vibes from her, and she should definitely win a men's title.
That'd be fun. I quite liked the match, even though I do see what you saw, where it was a little bit sloppy from time to time. But I thought those two workers performed well. It's like they knew each other pretty well, which they do. They have a storied rivalry. I think during the commercial break, Sheeta hit a real cocky pin on Britt Baker, where she just kind of like sat on her. I thought that was funny. And I'm digging this new kind of heel-ish character. I mean, you saw with her trying to go for that candlestick near the end that cost her in the end, but she was
Yeah.
tempted. She was gonna. I hope it's just not like drawn out like this Will Ospreay Tiger Driver nonsense where it's like, I just hit him, okay, just do it. But and then there was a bit where Sheeta hit a suplex and immediately brought that into an arm breaker. Again, I thought that was pretty nice. All in all, I thought it was a fine return match for Britt Baker. I hope she gets a couple more before whatever they do it All In. And then Camille's pretty shocking. I kind of completely forgot about her because I remember you saying, "Oh, Camille's going to be coming in somewhat soon." So it's cool to see her, and yeah, I hope she has something good planned in her future.
Yeah, dude, she is stacked. Like she's tall, muscular. Um, I can't see most of the women's roster able to defeat her. Really, like Willow, maybe, like Statlander, maybe, like
Oh, Tony Stormer still hit a low blow and win, so I don't know about that. You can't knock timeless Tony Storm out of there.
dude, Camille has like the record for being the NWA Women's Champion. Dude, she was for like years, I think, was the NWA Women's Champion. Um, but yeah, she'll have that AEW Women's World Championship at some point for sure. Uh, I don't know. I'd like her to take that off Mariah at some point. That'd be
Maybe.
what I want.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, fun stuff. Great debut, and yeah, even though there was some clunkiness, it was a really good match. Their chemistry together uh, helped that out quite a bit. They've had plenty of matches together, so that was probably the best first match back after a long time being out. So
Mhm.
yeah, that was good. After that, we get the patriarchy backstage. Christian is wearing all three belts
As he should.
because he won. Like he
He
won the
earned them.
match.
Yeah.
He says Nick Wayne is gonna be in the Royal Rampage Battle Royal and become #1 contender for the AEW World Championship. He actually lets Nick Wayne talk, but he's distracted by Kip Sabian over off to the side. He tells Kip Sabian that he's going to throw him out of the ring and no one cares that his dad is dead. He says, suck it up, be a man. Um, I've read online and watched a couple podcasts. Luchasaurus is hurt. He got injured.
Yeah.
So they're thinking Kip Sabian is gonna freebird that thing
Well,
at All In because Christian Cage is friends with the Elite. So they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, that's fine."
yeah. And again, the Bang Bang Gang were the faces, so that's why they got stripped of them, which makes sense. So, and Kit Sapien would be a good call because isn't he British or from the UK or something like that? So
Yep.
yeah, why not get more British people on the card? I think the biggest travesty right now is that Pac doesn't really have a clear match for All In, and he was on the show, and he's got an international title shot whenever he wants it, and he didn't mention it. He kind of forgot about it. So hopefully they still have something good for him. Maybe hologram.
Yeah, it was brought up it could be maybe Hologram, Pack, and Ricochet in a triple threat.
Why not?
Uh watched uh, our good friends over at Cultaholic. They did a prediction of the all-in card, and I really enjoyed the thought of that. Or just Ricochet, even would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fun stuff. Then we got Pack. Speaking of Pack, versus Boulder. Um, I really love the camera shot they do with Pac with the cameraman behind the tunnel holes for
Oh
that
yeah.
shot. They don't do that with anyone else. I really like that. I hope Pac came up with that.
Well,
uh,
typically it's just like Pac kind of gives him a dirty look and then walks away. But Pac was like staring at him for like 20 seconds and then was like, all right, I guess I'll look away. Like, ooh, there was some stank on it. I liked it
it
this week.
was it was good. Boulder misses a moonsault from the top rope, and Pac attacks. Pac drop kicks him from the top rope and gives him a brainbuster for the win. Quick squash match. Dude, Pac is dangerous, man. I hope you're enjoying the Pac character in AEW compared to your uh experience with him as Neville.
Look, okay, so when I was watching, he sucked because he had no character. He was Mighty Mouse. He was just a baby face. He was like, I'll beat you, yay! And then when I stopped watching, apparently he took the cruiserweight division hostage and was basically like Proto Pack, where maybe he's not so brutal, but he's pretty brutal. And he cuts promos where he's like, I don't care. I'm going to beat your ass. So I'll give him credit. I think end of his WWE run, Neville was pretty good. But did you know how he quit WWE? It's pretty badass.
No.
So I think he was cruiserweight champion, right? And he was like the only thing keeping that whole division alive. And then they went, "Oh, you're gonna drop it to Enzo Amore," and I think he just walked out.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah, I would have too.
Yeah, the brainbuster he hit on Boulder. Ooh, ooh, ooh,
Yeah,
beautiful.
beautiful. Dude, I am a major pack mark. He is one of my absolute favorites. He's an AEW original. Um, yeah, absolutely love his work. I get really bummed out every time he gets injured. But that just makes his return that much more meaningful every time he comes back. Dude, his freaking uh Black Arrow finisher into the brutalizer. Oh, something special, man.
No,
Um,
he's a generational talent. I just think they ought to do more with him.
yeah. Oh,
That
he's gonna
sucks
get.
because AW
Uh,
stuffed to the gills with good talent right now. So like, what would you have him do? I don't know, but yeah, it's he's pretty damn good, and I hope they have something good planned for him at All In.
I mean, yeah. There's no freaking way he's not gonna get a Wembley moment. Uh, yeah. I have very high faith in that. um, yeah. After that, we get a Team AEW interview. Swerve says the spirit of AEW is on the line tonight. Swerve calls himself their leader, and Darby Allin takes exception to that and says this is about getting even with the elite, and they aren't going to see eye to eye. Uh, the acclaimed say they remember what Swerve did to them, and they'll get violent with Swerve. They say they'll get violent with Darby Allin and calls him a weird ass. And they want to get all they want to do is get the AEW tag titles from the Young Bucks. So they're all quibbling, and Mark Briscoe has to stop them all and rally them all and says it's about Team AEW. He knows the Elite's game plan, divide and conquer, and they can't let that go down. They need to stay united. We coming, baby. So, uh, yeah, that was good. Rallying the troops. That's what he does, man. Dude, Mark Briscoe's special too, man. He is so entertaining.
Yeah, he was really good in Blood and Guts. I remember being kind of disappointed when he was announced because I was like, oh, this is kind of mid card, but all except for one spot, I thought he was pretty damn essential to that match, and it was just one spot I didn't like.
Yeah, love Mark Briscoe. I'm glad that he finally got to not only be in AEW, but he's become a pretty prominent uh personality on Dynamite and shit, Ring of Honor. He's the Ring of Honor world champion. Um,
Yeah, but I think he's dropping that title at Death Before Dishonor. If I'm being honest with you, because I
oh
think
yeah,
they'll have
Roderick Strong, baby.
maybe then Wardlow will come back because then there'll be titles to defend in the Devil Dumpling Gang. See, this story makes sense, Dave. Come on.
I guess so. Um, cool, yeah. So yeah, Mark Briscoe gets them all united again. Then we get the debut of the Glamour, Mariah May, her new moniker, versus Caitlin Alexis, some jobber. I said earlier, I like how she's still carrying around the Owen Hart belt. No one's ever done that after they've won it, ever. Like, continued to
Weird.
carry it around. She needs to wear that fucking thing every time, all the time. I
I
think
also
that would
like
be
how she still had the shoe with
the bloody
Tony Khan's
shoe.
blood on it. It gave me big The Rock final boss vibes from this year's Mania, because The Rock he kept around that Mama Rhodes belt with Cody blood. Like that was actually Cody Rhodes blood on it. Then he carried it around. It was pretty funny. And like on the Hall of Fame ceremony the night before, Muhammad Ali's either mom or wife, I can't remember, but it was someone important to Muhammad Ali, gave The Rock like a People's Champion belt, and he wore it to Mania, and it was stupid, but it was kind of funny because he's like, oh, in storyline, he can't not go out with a belt because Roman's got this belt for 1,300 some odd days, so he's got to be like, oh, I'm just as cool as him, guys. I have my own belt. So in a way, it kind of feels like that. Even though Mariah May did earn her belt, it's like, oh yeah, I'm getting final boss rock vibes from Mariah right now, which is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely a good thing. Um, yeah, this already before she even got in the ring, and I like how she like set up the shoe and the belt on the steel steps for a good like camera angle. Already redeeming the crappy promo where everyone was like, "What? What?"
There's
Um,
literally only one thing I didn't like about the segment, but we'll get into that later when you finish recanting it all.
um, yeah, Mariah May drop kicks Alexis as the bell rings, then one from the top rope. Mariah May hits the Mayday, but she doesn't cover. She goes for a hip attack instead, and then a Storm Zero for the win. Uh, Tony Storm's music hits, but oh, it's a fake out. They've been doing that a lot lately. Um, with MJF and Osprey,
I feel like this
not too
one was
long ago.
better than those. I hate
It
to say it.
was.
I liked it worked. And then Tony Storm was there. Which like that's the crux is like you have them come out to beat up the heel. That's funny. Like of the 3 times we've seen it recently, I thought Osprey's was the worst because it was like, well, yeah, MGF isn't gonna be here. Like, yeah, duh. And then the one MGF did to Osprey was kind of funny because that one was like Shawn Michaels doing it to Bret Hart, like where you're like, ooh, maybe, but nah, he's not here. And then I think this is the best one so far because I think like, oh, this is where Tony Storm comes back, and then you got to have that 1 second where Mariah May was like, ha ha ha, just kidding. And then what happens next, Dave?
Uh, Tony Storm appears with a black wig and a pissed off look. Man, she was mad. Almost looked a little deranged. Like I loved it.
She was
Uh,
mad. She was stabbed in the back by someone she truly loved. I think she
yep,
gets to be a little deranged.
yeah. They break out in a fury of punches, and the refs and security hold them back. Then Tony Storm screams, "Are you prepared to die? Because I am." Uh, is that the part you didn't like?
No, I the one part I didn't like was Mariah May's opponent. And nothing against that poor girl, but I'm tired of seeing Mariah May and Daniel Garcia beat jobbers. Like for the love of God, have her walk through, I don't know, Lady Frost. And I know we all like Lady Frost, but you
Yeah.
give Lady Frost an extra 5,000 more bucks for the night and be like, hey, Mariah May's gonna squash you because we want her to look good.
Dude,
Or I was gonna say
Robin
like
Renegade would have been perfect for that.
a name I recognize other than local talent because I've been seeing it. Like this is the same complaint I've had with Mariah May for months now, and it's nothing to do with Mariah May. It's her opponents. They keep giving her jobbers. Like, give her a name I know for the love of God, please. Harley Cameron, Anna Jay, like people that aren't really doing much right now, and maybe just give them a little bit more money so that they're okay with it, but it'll make the product better. But I loved this segment top to bottom. I thought Mariah May looked really efficient and ruthless during this all. I liked how she just was going for drop kick, mayday, and then it was like, nah, I'm not done. Hip attack, Storm Zero, boom. I love Tony Khan or Tony Storm's, not Tony Khan. I love Tony Storm's return. Her delivery of that. Are you prepared to die? Because I am. Like, oh, I almost shed a
Gave me
tear.
chills, man. It gave
That
me
shit was great.
chills.
Yeah. So I'm all. I was thinking I was talking to Chad because Chad and I work together. He was like, "Oh, is Tony Storm gonna come back?" And I was like, it's a little too soon. I'd give it another week or so." But I think with how brief their encounter was, and I hate to say it, I've been more interested in this Mariah May and Tony Storm feud than the Monet and Britt Baker one. Even though I'm still into it, I've been way more into this Tony Storm Mariah May one because it feels a lot more ruthless and real. I would say, because it like how viciously Mariah May like destroyed Tony, and how Tony went from like sobbing to nothing, like she was like unconscious, brilliant, and then this return where she's like not this silly pompous like ooh wind up punch bow and ooh like it's not that she's like oh I'm gonna kill you and I'll die in the process if I have to get my revenge like it's brilliant. So
Uh,
I'm loving this. Again, the only thing I didn't like is I wish Mariah May beat someone I actually knew.
yeah, yeah, fair. Um, in an interview, Mariah claims that before she even debuted, this was Tony Khan's long-term plan over a year ago.
Really?
He laid
Okay.
the whole thing out to her. This is what I want to do. Are you okay with it, being a long-term payoff? She's like, yeah. So this whole thing was really great long-term storytelling.
She had to eat plenty of losses because every feud, like the first step in all these Tony Storm feuds was, oh, Serena Deeb versus Mariah May. Oh, Deonna Purrazzo versus Mariah May. And Mariah May loses. And Mariah May loses to set up, oh, Tony Storm's got a big ol' opponent now. What's she going to do? So I've been loving this booking since the beginning. I think there was a couple months where the feud was just let's get to the match and see. But now that we're at the match that I've at least known has been the plan this whole time. Maybe just not this vicious and maybe not the Mariah May turning part. I'm glad we're here. I'm glad it's paying off.
I'm so entertained and like emotionally invested in this.
Mhm.
Uh yeah, but both women have really demonstrated that they can do this. Like they are you can tell neither of them are phoning it in.
Yeah.
Like they're all in.
Ah,
Pardon the pun.
Well, I'm sure those two women have had ample time to plan this out. Like, what would be better for the turn? Oh, Mariah, because I think everyone expected Tony to turn, so it's better to have Mariah, and you have the slow turn, and then it's okay to have 1 week of off booking because you could just make up for it the next week. And I'm heavily intrigued to see where they go from here.
Yeah, loving it. This is the best women's storyline they have going. Yeah, can't wait for All In. Um, cool. Yeah, now we get Blood and Guts. We get a pretty cool video package narrated by Dean Malenko. Dude, his gravelly voice was perfect. Like, gotta give him kudos for that. They're like, man, what can we do with Dean Malenko? Like, I know he has some health problems, and he maybe can't be featured on camera like they'd want. So this was a perfect way to get him involved.
I think he
Um,
helps produce matches too. So
yeah, 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 yeah,
from what I
yeah.
can
That's
tell, I think they're using him perfectly. And maybe like health issues aside, maybe the guy just doesn't want to be on camera. So
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that's cool. We'll use your voice. Like I loved his narration, and I really liked the semi-retro, not like 60s retro, like 90s retro they had for this video package, like the kind of dated graphics. I liked that. I thought it was a pretty nice touch.
yeah. Really good. The only thing I didn't like when they displayed the rules, they had quote every few minutes another participant enters. Why can't they just definitively say 2 minutes, 3 minutes? Is it because they didn't know yet?
I
Or
think it's. I would probably guess commercial breaks. Like maybe this commercial break is 2 minutes and this commercial break is 3 minutes. And because I watch on Triller, I get to watch picture in picture. Like they don't cut or anything, especially if matches are still going on. I could see those matches. So I'm sure they're just like, oh, we'll just have the heel beatdown segment during the commercial break, and then like right as the it's coming back from commercial break, there's Anthony Bowens, yay! So I think at least that planning of it was pretty slick, but it would have been nicer to have that is what makes the Royal Rumble go so well, is because it's 90 seconds every time. And if you time it, it's not always 90 seconds, but at least they say that. So it
yeah,
feels like 90 seconds. And in the beginning, when the crowd's not that filled up and there's not that much storylines going on because there's only 2 or 3 guys in the ring, those 90 seconds feel long. But the time you get to like the late 20s, those 90 seconds are like, oh, it's been 20 seconds, man. Stop it. Like, calm down. I want to see this shit. You're going so fast, but that's just how it feels because it's a natural progression. You're watching so much that it goes by so quickly. So maybe if they had done like once every 2 minutes, but I think they wouldn't have been able to do that unless it was on like a pay per view or something.
Yeah. Like exactly. Like the Rumble doesn't have to contend with commercial breaks. The
Mm-mm.
timing that out. So, but yeah, the rules make sense. It's basically war games. I don't even know if it's really any different than the war games rules.
Warzone can end by pinfall, or War Games can end by pinfall.
Oh, this is yeah, submission or quitting,
Yep.
surrendering.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I like that aspect of it. It kind of makes it more brutal. A quick pinfall would probably be pretty anticlimactic for me. So yeah, that's good. Yeah, to start off here, we had Jack Perry and Darby Allen. Starting it off, Jack Perry hits Darby Allen with a chair as he gets in the cage, making him fall out of the cage. Then power bombs Darby into the cage on the outside. Uh, he then throws Darby over the steel steps. He flies over into the crowd. They brawl in the crowd for a little bit. They finally end up in the cage, and Jack Perry chokes Darby with a some kind of cord. Jack Perry lawn darts Darby Allen into a trash can that he shoved between two turnbuckles. Next in, Nick Jackson with a chair and a suitcase. We'll find out what's in there later on. Him and Jack Perry team up on Darby Allen. Next in is Mark Briscoe to even up the odds. Him and Darby throw Nick Jackson into a ladder. Next in is Matthew Jackson with another suitcase. He DDTs Darby Allen onto the case and hits Mark Briscoe in the head, or hits Mark Briscoe's head against the cage, causing it to bleed. At this point, the Elite are destroying Team AEW. Next in is Anthony Bowens. He takes out Nicholas Jackson, then Matthew, then Jack Perry. Um, Mark Briscoe counters a TK driver with a cutter. Then Darby gives Matthew a scorpion death drop. Anthony Bowens hits Perry in the head, stabs him in the head with a pair of scissors, and then
Youch!
puts them in Jack Perry's mouth. Next in is Okada. He's got a Rainmaker street sign, and he hits uh, Darby and Bones with it, and then gives Mark Briscoe a tombstone pile driver on it. Next in is Max Caster. He hits Okada with a live mic, and then hits the Young Bucks with a chain. Max Caster grabs a barbed wire board from under the ring, but Bowens ends up getting hip tossed onto it. Matthew Jackson puts another barbed wire board on top of Anthony Bowens, sandwiching him in between the two barbed wire boards, and sentons on Bowens. That looked pretty painful. Okada grabs a bag of thumbtacks and they put them in Max Caster's mouth and super kick him.
Ugh.
Uh, I know you're not used to all that.
That was like it was gross, but I was mostly fine with that. Like I'm kind of used to that. It was a further on spot that I was like, oh, I still don't like that.
Next is supposed to be Hangman Page, but he doesn't show. Team AEW take advantage of the Elite's cockiness. Anthony Bowens gives Nicholas Jackson a scissor me timbers with barbed wire wrapped around his leg. Next in is Swerve Strickland, but Hangman Page shows up and attacks him on his way to the cage. Hangman Page handcuffs Swerve to the outside of the cage. Nana tries to step up and help, but Page punches Nana and hits Swerve in the head with the World Championship. Matthew gets on the mic and says, "We had a deal. If you don't get in this ring, you are fired." Page relents and gets in the ring. Okada shoves Page, and Team AEW attack. Jeff Jarrett is angry and walks to the ring. Brandon Cutler tries to stop him, but Daddy Ass shows up and punches him, and Jeff Jarrett smashes a guitar over Cutler's head. Double J and Daddy Ass end up freeing Swerve with the help of Nana with some kind of bolt cutters or pliers, whatever he had. Uh, Swerve takes out Perry, the Young Bucks, and Okada. Uh, let's see. Then he turns his focus on Adam Page. The crowd at this point is electric. They cannot wait for the two of them to get their hands on each other. They end up fighting between the two rings. Uh, Swerve tries to staple Page, but Nicholas Jackson low blows him. Matthew opens up one of the cases, and it's full of staple guns. All the elite grab one, and they staple Swerve, but he gets up and just laughs it off. Oh, what a moment. He looked like a freaking superhero.
As you know, staples are not very effective against Swerve Strickland. So, Swerve looked like $1,000,000 in this match.
Yeah, he looked like the top guy in the company. They did their job making him look like that. And then he staples all the elite back. Okada goes for a rainmaker, but stops to flip him off, and he staples his freaking hand. Then Adam Page tries to hit a buckshot lariat on Swerve, but he hits Okada instead, and Swerve staples Page in the face. Swerve and Page end up on the stage, and they fall onto some tables, and they're written off for the rest of the match. The Bucks stack 4 tables on the outside of the cage, 2 on top of 2. Nicholas and Bowens climb to the top of the cage. Bowens ends up getting knocked off and falls through all of the tables. That was a pretty big moment. Mark Briscoe gives every member of the elite a J driller. That was freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Then he gives Matthew a froggy bow through a table. Darby climbs the cage like monkey bars from the inside and coffin drops Jack Perry through a table from the top. I thought that was really cool. Mark Briscoe then handcuffs Jack Perry to the cage and hits him with a kendo stick over and over, but Perry won't quit. They also handcuff Matthew Jackson to the ring ropes. Darby grabs a can of gas and a lighter and pours the gas on Jack Perry. Darby says he wants a title match for the TNT title or he'll light Perry on fire. Matthew Jackson ends up agreeing to the match and also quits in the process. And right before that, we get a pretty big unprotected chair shot to Jack Perry while he's handcuffed, basically crucified on the
Mm-hmm.
on the cage. Um, yeah, a lot of people are upset about that. Uh, I don't know. I'll take 2 of those a year. That's my limit.
I'll take none of those a year, but if the wrestlers are okay with it and they're coming out safe the next day, what can I really complain about? It's just something that I personally don't like to watch. But again, if they're safe and okay with it, then that's fine. the biggest thing about say like because I always think about like the Rock and Mankind match at Royal Rumble 1999. They were only supposed to do like 2 or 3. Well, because Mick Foley wasn't in position, Rock kind of was like, "Oh, I guess I'll do more to get into position," and he ended up doing like 11, which is insane, insane. So, that was just one thing I didn't like. I also it didn't make sense that Jack Perry is willing to burn himself alive just so he doesn't have to have a title match. That was a bold choice, and it just kind of made him look stupid in my eyes. I think even on commentary, they're like, Jack Perry really is tough. I'm like, no, he's an idiot. It's not like he's forfeiting the title. It's a title match. And maybe he's scared of Darby Allin, sure. But you get set on fire, you're probably going to lose your career, or at least a couple months or years of your career, right? Like, I know he got set on fire at Double or Nothing, but we all know he was covered in like anti-flammable gel because that's why he was put in the water, so it looks like he's wet, and then they hosed him down, so that's why it was safe then. And again, Darby just kind of like shot his legs on fire. This, it's like, oh no, like he's shirtless and you doused him in gasoline. So if you light him on fire, he's not getting out anytime soon. So I didn't like that, but everything else I quite liked. I love Swerve and Hangman's part in this match. I thought it was really interesting and engaging. You told me earlier that you didn't like how early they were taken out of the match, and I agree with that. It would have been better if they had more to play in the last bit of the show, but at the end of the day, I'm fine with it. It shows in their rivalry that they're always going to focus on each other more than anything. So I didn't mind it. I liked how Matthew was the one to call it off because he's always been the more sensible of the Bucks, where he's like, no, he's crazy, but he's got a level head. And so he's like, yeah. Don't set Jack Perry on fire. We'll give you whatever you want. And luckily, they only asked for a TNT title match and to end the match. So all in all, I thought it was a pretty effective match. Tons of spots that were a lot of fun. I think my favorite bit was Swerve getting in a little late, but makes sense. And then him resisting all the staples and then stapling each one of the elite, like personally. I thought that was a really good spot, especially the end where he swerved Hangman in the same cheek that he stapled that his kid's drawing to his face, and then gave him a house call. I thought that was a great little spot. So all in all, a pretty fun match, and most importantly, I'm excited for what happens next.
I do feel too like with Jack Perry chained up to the cage, like it almost looked like he was the baby face at that point. Like they were
Yeah,
just
I kind of like with the unprotected hair shot, trying to be set on fire. I was like, are we turning Jack Perry? Like, are we making all the elite face? That's weird, but okay, all right. But obviously, that's not going to be the end goal. But it was an interesting choice. But I guess it's like how far Team AEW had to go to win. So
yeah. Yeah. So now we're two big matches, Stadium Stampede, Blood and Guts, 1-1. Uh Elite took one and the Elite lost one. Um where do we go from here?
well, you said Stadium Stampede. I think you meant Anarchy in the Arena.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
they will finish with Stadium Stampede, and that'll be, the full elite. Maybe not Hangman Page, maybe MJF or something like a good, nice Christian is a good shout. Versus, I would say this is when you have, if he's able to come back, Kenny Omega, Swerve, Osprey. Like that's when you fill in the Bryan Danielson. You throw in your top baby faces in John Moxley, like pick big baby faces. Any of them could be in this, and that's how you end this off. That's how I would end this off.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, the Elite have not been the threat that I had hoped them to be. They're more politicky, kind of whiny behind the scenes, pulling the strings kind of a faction. Um, yeah, I wanted them to be a little more ruthless and brutal and violent. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, unless you have anything else to talk about AEW, I say we talk about WCW Monday Nitro 251, baby.
Woo! Ooh, yeah.
As you all might know, we've been comparing WCW and Dynamite until Dynamite passes Nitro. Hopefully, God, I hope they don't go under. And so we just compare. So obviously, we just reviewed Dynamite in full. But let's look at the matches for this one. So obviously, we got the first match, the franchise, with Tori Wilson defeats Crowbar with Daphne. 3 minutes 39 seconds. Nothing seemingly on the line. Next up, we have Jeffrey Jarrett, who was also a big part of Dynamite 251, defeating Billy Kidman in 4 minutes and 36 seconds. Again, nothing really seems like on the line. A WCW World Heavyweight title match, Booker T defeats Mike Awesome in 8 minutes and 7 seconds.
Wow, that early in the episode? That wasn't even the main event?
Nope, we'll get to that main event. Someone who we've already talked about pulled double duty. Next up, we have a WCW Hardcore title 2-on-1 match. Big Vito defeats Norman Smiley and Ralphus. 4 minutes on the dot. That's pretty impressive for a hardcore match, but maybe he
Do,
just.
do you know anything about Ralphus or
I know he was
anything at
like
all?
a trucker that Jericho was like, oh, I want you to be my bodyguard because that's funny. And he was. And then Jericho went to WWF and they're like, well, we'll still use Ralphus.
Yep.
Next up, we have a singles match. Lance Storm defeats The Artist with Paisley. How long did that match last, Dave?
Minute 14.
You are so close. 1 minute 15 seconds. You are 1 second off. It's like you watched this one. Okay. Next up. Okay, this one's funny. Chronic, Brian Adams and Brian Clark. This is a
Yeah.
WCW
Love
World
Chronic.
Tag Team title match. Defeat the Misfits in Action, Corporal Cajun, and General Erection with Lieutenant Loco, Major Guns, and Major Stash. How long did that match last?
241.
5 minutes, 12 seconds. So a little bit longer, but it's just kind of funny. I mean, maybe this match was a squash. I doubt it. But thinking about the Ricky Starks and Big Bill squash of FTR, and that was like, oh, 5 minutes. FTR beaten in 5 minutes. That's a squash match, brother. This is like a straight up just match. Like, straight up match.
Dude, I love Chronic. They were so powerful and such a good tag team. So they were the champs at that point.
Yep. Oh,
Wow,
I
they
didn't.
must have.
It was October 7th, 2000.
Man, I'm wondering if they dropped them and then because they were champs when WCW got bought by Vince McMahon. And I think the Brothers of Destruction beat them for the WCW tag titles.
That's a funny match because, I'm sure they were great in WCW, but for some reason in WWF, they sucked. And so Undertaker was good friends with both of these guys. So I was like, we'll have a big SummerSlam tag team match. It'll be me and Kane versus you two. And there's bits in the map where you can hear Undertaker going, feed, feed, because Brian, like Chronic just aren't participating in the match. It's funny. It's so funny. And then the main event. Jeff Jarrett defeated Goldberg, Positively Cannon, and Scott Steiner for a WCW World Heavyweight Title #1 contendership 4-way match. Dave, how long did that
Wow.
one last? It's a 4-way
Uh,
match.
205.
Wow, 5 minutes and 32 seconds. I think last week was probably a bad one because, like, the longest match was like 10 minutes and then everything
Yeah.
else was like 2 minutes. But this is like, it's better, but it's like, okay, yeah, a 5-minute match is better than a 2-minute match, but it's still not great.
Forgot they pushed Canyon to the main event scene towards the end of WCW.
Who else are
He
you gonna push but Canyon?
right? Who better? That's
Mm-hmm.
where about Brian Cage idolized him. Uh and that's where he got the who better than Cage.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's fun.
Yeah. He there's some kind of like symbol that Canyon always had on his gear that Brian Cage puts on his gear too.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
cool. Way to shout out like an underrated wrestler like Canyon. I haven't seen much of anything of him, but I know a lot of people liked him.
yeah, yeah. Cool, interesting, weird episode of Nitro. So there's only October, November, December, January, March, like 5 months left of WCW at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. There's no Eric Bischoff. I think Vince Russo's doing the booking and the writing. Man.
It's a Vince Russo world.
hmm Yeah, sad. I swear he was sent to put the nail in the coffin.
That's a conspiracy theory with some logic to it. The only reason I don't think it is Vince Russo would have had some relationship with McMahon, right? Unless McMahon's just an evil bastard, which that's not out of the question here. But like, wouldn't you think he'd be like, oh, okay, welcome back to WWF. Thanks for doing what I wanted you to do and killing my competition. So that's the only reason why I don't believe it is because Russo was like never coming back to WWF, and he never did, and he never will. So,
Yeah. Yeah, man, Russo was behind some of the best stories in the WWF, right?
but he was also part of some of the worst. I think the way Vince McMahon would put it, or like Bruce Pritchard or someone would like, they would say Russo would give you 100 ideas. One of them would be brilliant, and the other 99 were shit. And so that's why he was just maybe he was head writer, but again, there were people with creative control. So they'd be like, "No, Vince, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Hey, that one's good. We'll go with that." Um, and then you got WCW and TNA. He was just kind of like let to roam free.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he was in TNA. Um, I can't even stand listening to his podcast. He's
Oh,
just
you know what,
so
bro? Oh, it wasn't that bad. Okay, my ideas are pretty good. I think WWF should hire me back, guys. I think AEW needs to hire me. You'd see a lot more of not Swerve Strickland. I don't think Swerve Strickland's a good guy, bro. I don't think he's a good performer, bro. I don't think Will Ospreay's a good performer, bro. Like, nah, nah. I like AEW. Again, I think like the biggest reason we're doing this is like, oh, we just talking about blood and guts, and sure, I had a few issues, but all in all, it was a really nice 40-minute match. I don't think I'd feel the same way about anything on this episode of Nitro. There might be something where I'm like, oh, this is not bad, but there's nothing like the Mariah May Tony Storm thing going on right now, or something camp like the MJF Osprey feud going on right now. Like, there's nothing like that.
no. Ooh, something interesting popped in my brain. Before we went on, I read an interesting name was backstage at Dynamite Blood and Guts, who's related to the Vince Russo shit era of WCW. Do you want to
David
guess?
Arquette.
Yes.
Was it really? Oh, that was just a big guess. Hell yeah. I think he's redeemed himself because he's worked a lot of
Oh yeah,
indie shows. So hell
dude,
yeah,
and
why not?
he literally like bleeds buckets in like hardcore matches and like totally he wanted to redeem himself and he did. Like I haven't watched the like that big documentary, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, that I only know clips of it, and that's why I know that he has redeemed himself. But
Yeah,
sure, put the world title on him. Don't do it. Don't do it. But it
let's
would
do
be a
it.
little funny.
I think that'd be pretty cool to have him on AEW television. I'd
Yeah,
be okay with it.
give him a feud with MJF. Like that'll be funny. Come
Oh my
on.
gosh. Oh
Come
my
on,
gosh.
yeah.
Dude. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Like that would be
So
funny, interesting, and a way to buy time, and a name that's not just like, oh, we pulled someone from CMLL to feud with MJF, and they're not going to cut any promos. Like this could be interesting, and it is a name that some people know. That hey, oh, David Arquette is at AEW Revolution. Okay, I'll check that out.
yep. Yeah, I
And
think
it
it could be good.
keeps MJF away from a title for a little bit. I know he has one now, but I'm sure Osprey will beat him for it soon. But it keeps MJF away for titles, for a little bit, because not everyone can be going for titles, and I don't think MJF should be losing that often. So
Yeah. But yeah, that popped in my brain. I read that before we went on the air. But yeah, cool stuff. Yeah, I'd like David Arquette to show up there. Um, yeah, one more time before we head out, I want to tell everyone out there. No, we already did it, but don't forget to elbow drop that like button, power bomb that subscribe button, and leave a comment. All your support really helps. We love each and every one of you for watching. And yeah, we love talking about wrestling. I don't have a whole lot going on in my life other than wrestling and work. So, yeah, it's something I've loved for a long, long time.
yeah, it's pretty fun to come on here and get to flab my mouth for a little bit, spread my knowledge, what little of it I have, but it's fun to do.
Oh yeah. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, we did the WCW episode. Uh, yeah, overall, really enjoyed the show. Um, there was nothing I hated.
And I wouldn't
Uh,
say there's anything I hated either. It was just some stuff that I didn't like.
yeah. Um, yeah, even the beginning was cool. The Marvez stuff, cold open. I think that really set the tone. Um, yeah, MJF being a piece of shit, like usual. His promos go a little long nowadays too. I think he can be a little more concise to the point,
Yeah.
but yeah, not a big gripe. But cool. Yeah, I think that just about does it for the episode. What do you think?
Yeah, I had a good time. Hopefully, Chad will be done with the G1 and we'll be participating in our retro view on Monday.
Yeah, he picked it, so he better be.
Hmm.
But yeah, I this is my favorite Blood and Guts. This is the best one they've put on so far,
That's
bar none.
crazy. This is my favorite Blood and Guts too. It's the first one. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you didn't get to see the one with Kota Ibushi and the bed of nails. I think it was BCC versus Elite, possibly.
Because that was like the one match Pat came back for, and then he got injured, right? Like he got a pretty bad concussion.
Yeah. But yeah, cool. Love the episode. Hopefully the ratings. I didn't look today, but hopefully it reflected well. They are pretty much finalizing that Warner Brothers Discovery deal. And Tony Khan alluded that Ring of Honor will be involved with it too. So I want that shit on Max, baby.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I want to be able to see any episode of Dynamite, Collision, or Rampage at will. Like, I don't know how I could do that right now if I wanted to just watch, like, I don't know, Pac versus whoever that happened on Dynamite number 35, like, I don't really know how I would be able to do that.
Has them all, but you need a VPN to do that. So
yeah,
you have to pay for 2 separate services to get that, which I think is a little stinky.
Yep. But cool, yeah. I'm glad Camille showed up. Tony Storm gave me chills, man. Are you ready to die? 'Cause I am. Like, oh, dude, good stuff. Excellent. But cool, yeah. Keep that momentum going, AEW. And you lost me on Collision, but Dynamite's still very good. So cool. All right. I think that just about does it. Thank you, everyone out there. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. We appreciate you. And I'm going to do the thing now.
Do the thing. Do the thing.
Bye.
Peace and bye-bye.